It's no secret that some people view height as masculinity. Some people view tall women as masculine. And I've talked about it quite often on this podcast. Now, what if some people take this a step further and believe that or call a tall woman a man? Or maybe trans. Yes, there are tall women who were assigned female at birth and still identify as a woman who have been straight up asked if they were a man or trans. And honestly, people don't even have to straight up ask about that. It can be simple things like eyeing you in a woman's public restroom or even calling you sir. So in today's episode, we're going to be discussing why some people misgender tall women and whether they actually believe that or they're doing it on purpose. So let's get into it. Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to A Tall Girls podcast, hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone who is tuning in today is doing super fantastic. Before I get into this episode, I do want to say, make sure you're following me on my socials at A Tall Girls podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so that you can stay up to date on all of the latest podcast episodes and catch a glimpse of my everyday life. Also, feel free to leave me a review and let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. I also have a monthly newsletter. Make sure you subscribe to that. Everything is going to be linked in the description. Before we get deep into this episode, tall girls are trending again, y'all. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if it's just 2025 or if there's just like this major shift in how people see tall women, how some people see tall women. I don't know what it is. And I mean, low-key, I'm here for it. But the tall girlies are trending yet again on TikTok. So it's called the Big Mama trend, where there is like a video or a photo of a woman and it has her height and it's usually like 5'10" or 6'2". It has her weight, which is usually somewhere around 200 pounds, give or take. And it has her clothing size, maybe her shoe size, and so forth. And that photo or video is playing with the song by Lotto called Big Mama, I guess. I don't know. I never really listened to it, but the song is just like, Big Mama, Big Mama. I'm not trying to play it and get like copyrighted, but I also kind of don't want to make a fool of myself, so take with that what you will. You can search it up on TikTok too if you have it. But this is ultimately done as a way to celebrate bigger bodies, whether it's more plus size, tall, or honestly both. And I mean, I get it. Listen, all bodies are beautiful. Now, I do have a few thoughts about this trend and honestly more so about how men view tall women, but I may say that for another episode. But in the meantime, I did find this video of a girly who basically shared her thoughts about this trend, so I'm going to play that for you guys.
As a tall girl, here are my thoughts on the tall girl trend on TikTok and how being tall is seen as a positive thing by men. I think that's the craziest thing. I'm not mad at it, don't get me wrong. I just think it's crazy that it took this long. Now, there's some people in the comments that are about to eat me up and say, oh, models are tall, like tall girls been it, like what are you talking about? Models have been it. 80%, maybe more, of tall women are not models. Women who are not models, a lot of their life have been associated with very masculine traits, have been called things like manly, and some things I've been called tree, big bird, giraffe. I one time heard in high school some boys saying, ew, she's dumb tall. End of statement. That was it. Why is that ew? And I just feel like it low-key kind of took Megan Thee Stallion to, pop off and be that celebrity in the public eye that's tall, that's beautiful, that is wanted, And it's kind of sad that it took that long. Low-key.
Now, something interesting that was brought up in this take was particularly that tall women have mainly been associated with masculinity or have even been called manly. And so this trend has to do with size because I mean like Big Mama. So the word big kind of implies like large size. And listen, I'm typically not over analyzing stuff like this, but hear me out. It's going to make sense in a couple seconds. But being tall or being big, and listen, I don't really like using the term big, but for the sake of this trend, we're just going to use it. But being large is often associated with masculinity. And so, because of tall women and their size, they're typically associated with masculinity. However, some people have taken it a step further in that, we've been called masculine, but there are some people who may call us a man or may call us terms related to a man or may have even assumed that some of us are trans. And I want to say early on in this episode that we do not promote transphobia, okay? It's disgusting, it's gross, get a life. We respect people no matter their identity, okay? And just as a disclaimer, I will be talking a lot about the term trans and honestly how it's being used as an insult here, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. But I just wanted to let you know about that early on. But yes, there are some tall women out there who have been called man or a trans or even have been approached by somebody like a random stranger in public and asked if they're a man or a trans. Just listen to these next few examples.
So while I'm hearing they're telling extremely tall women asking if they're, a transgender or if they're a man. I haven't experienced this, but I'm hearing that's what y'all be going through. Like, that's new to me.
I keep getting mistaken for a man, and I'm tired of it, and it's time to figure out why. Okay? And I mean, this happens to me often enough that for a while I thought that it was like a stereotype thing. I thought because I'm like 6'2" and black and like I have short hair, I don't know if this is like an issue that black girls deal with.
I was stopped in my car in New York City by a man that wanted to hit on me, but wanted to make sure I wasn't trans before hitting on me. And this was simply based on my height. And obviously he was a short man. He was like, 5'8", 5'6". The lesson here is to never assume anyone's sexuality. Stop assuming that tall women are trans women.
I did ask you guys in a poll over on Instagram, and I'm just going to do a quick plug here. Make sure you follow me at A Tall Girls Podcast so that you can participate in these polls and have your opinions heard on these episodes. But I did run a poll on Instagram asking, tall girls, have you ever been misgendered? 60% of you guys said yes, and 40% of you guys said no. And then I also got an interesting DM as well in response to this poll, and this one lady, she said, I've been mistaken for my brother on the phone a few times growing up, but to be fair, it was an honest mistake by family and they always apologize profusely. See, I'm gonna comment on that first. I think especially when you're younger, people often mix up the genders of younger children. I think that's pretty universal, not necessarily a thing for like tall girls, but just overall. I think it's like that probably for like the first five, maybe 6 years of their lives. But she didn't give an age range. So let's say maybe, I don't know, she was like 10, 11, 12. Then it's like, okay, that's like a little, I wouldn't say strange, but strange. Yeah. But if younger than that, then I think that's pretty universal. That happens fairly often. But I don't want to say I'm pretty shocked that it was like 60% said yes and 40% said no. I thought it was going to be more 50-50, you know what I mean? Because I'm just going based off of, because some of the people who follow me, I do follow them back, just going based off of them talking about their experiences. Quite a few of you guys do talk about being misgendered for sure. And others don't really say much of anything about it. So I thought it was going to be more 50-50. I probably also should have specified, like the misgendering isn't necessarily like, oh, you're a man or oh, you're trans. But it could also be things like sir, Mr., and so forth. I probably should have specified that, but if you have any other thoughts on this, let me know in the comments or DM me. So when people misgender tall women, is it on purpose? Or do they actually believe that we're not women? Like, do they not believe that we were born as women and still choose to identify as women? And it's not just outright saying that or asking if we were a man or whatever. It's also something as simple as calling us sir or mister. Like, I've gotten that quite a few times. Or people online asking inappropriate questions regarding our identity or gender. Or even just stares or harassment in public, or people in public asking the person that they're with, like a friend or family member, and just pointing and saying, oh my gosh, like, is that a man? And I think that there's a bit of a pattern. Well, I don't know if pattern is the correct term here. I feel like there are people with certain traits. There are women with certain traits who get misgendered more often than other tall women. Like on Reddit, for example, someone said that this happens a lot to tall women in the Black community. I also feel like this could happen more to tall women with strong facial features, a deeper voice, a more athletic build, or maybe just, in general, being larger in size. Something interesting that I came across is that thinness is associated with femininity. So it seems like tall plus size women are more likely to be misgendered than tall thin women. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. But not only does this take an emotional toll on the tall women that's affected by this or being called a man or trans and so forth, but it also really causes a lot of hyper awareness. I found this thing on Reddit of a tall woman kind of asking other tall women, hey, like, are you worried or scared or concerned that other people may view you as a man or as trans, because she was talking about how, I believe she said she was 6'2", and oftentimes in public restrooms, in women's public restrooms, she would get side eyes or weird stares, kind of implying that they thought that she was a man and that she was a man in a woman's restroom, and they may be uncomfortable with that. I don't know, it's just crazy to me that all of this is happening because society is telling us that our natural bodies, our height, our appearance is quote unquote unwomanly. Now, back to my previous question on whether or not people are doing this on purpose. Let's say that they are doing this on purpose. Why would they do this on purpose? Why would some people misgender tall women on purpose? And then go and ask these inappropriate questions to her face without maybe even knowing who she is. People often misgender tall women as a way to insult them. I mean, yeah, I guess we could give them the benefit of the doubt, but at what point is it like, you didn't need to say that inappropriate comment, you didn't need to ask that inappropriate question, you're just being disrespectful right now. So, I mean, in a way, it's like if they're trying to insult us by calling us a man or whatever in their eyes, it's almost like they're trying to humble us in a way. It kind of reminds me of how there are like insecure people or narcissistic people who try to, I guess, like bring their victims down or whatever, try to bring them down, try to disrespect them as a way to keep their victim almost under their control. Now, I'm not saying it's as intense because especially if like the misgendering comments or whatever is coming from a stranger, like if you don't personally know the person, how are they going to try to keep control over you? But they could be trying to humble you. That person may feel the need to undermine your confidence or tear you down or shame you into shrinking. And to them, it's like, okay, hold on now. Especially I feel like if they see a tall woman just being herself or being confident or just doing things that make her feel pretty or make her feel feminine, that's their way of trying to be like, okay, hold on now. Like, don't try to be too confident or whatever. You still look like a man to the rest of us. I did ask you guys in another poll on Instagram, do you think people misgender tall women on purpose? 19% said yes, they love insulting us by calling us men or trans. 22% said no, they may think we're for real men or trans. And 59% of you guys said a bit of both, honestly. I found this very interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I expected more even results in a way, especially when I was doing... Do you count TikTok as research? I count TikTok as research. When I was doing research on TikTok, especially like going through some of the comments under these videos, some people have said that, people use this as an insult. So I feel like I would have thought more would have said it's an insult. They're using it as an insult. But it's interesting to see that a lot of you guys think it's a mix of both. Like some people, well, I mean, just as the previous example in the previous poll, when the girl was talking about how her family members would mix her up with her brother, maybe they just genuinely thought, okay, not to say that her family thought that she was like a man or whatever, but I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm trying to get at. Like it would be an honest mistake at times is what I'm trying to say. And then I did get a DM based on this poll, and one of you guys asked, doesn't it matter if they do? So I asked, what do you mean? And she said, like, does it really matter if someone thinks you are a different sex? It doesn't say anything about you. It says everything about that person and their small-mindedness. If you are secure enough in yourself and what you stand for, then who cares if they misgender you? Not your problem. And listen, I agree with that 110%. Like, Especially if it's a stranger, like you're never gonna see these people again. Like screw that, screw them, screw their thought process, like it doesn't matter. But this is also for the tall girlies who this has affected, you know? Like not every not all the time, not everyone is gonna be like, oh, like they're ridiculous, like who cares, da 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 da. Some people, some of us, still get insecure about that. Are like, oh my gosh, like what made them think that way? Does everybody else see me as that way? Like who else sees us this way? You know what I mean? And it could be pretty off putting, especially if it happens like a couple times or just randomly in random places, especially in front of other people like your friends and so forth. It could be pretty off putting. So, yes, I agree that it doesn't necessarily matter, but I don't know. It can also make us feel bad about ourselves. And then that's when it's kind of like, oof, like this is absolutely crazy. But that's just my take. You let me know what you think. And with using trans almost as a slur, it's like making that term into something to mock or devalue. And it's like even when the woman being attacked isn't trans, that's still kind of transphobic. And it kind of reinforces the idea that trans women aren't real women. And I'm sitting here like, bro, like it's 2025. What are we doing here? I thought we were past all of this. Why aren't we moving on? And I personally feel like the people who are insulting tall women in this way are very insecure people. Wait, okay, so I'm gonna try to explain it in a way that is kind of similar to this TikTok trend. Listen, I'm not trying to say I'm on TikTok too much, okay? Because I'm a marketer. That's part of my job. But we're talking a lot about TikTok trends here and honestly lately on this podcast. But I'm going to play an example of this trend so that you can understand the direction or what I'm trying to do.
Do you really need to buy that, or are you just using online shopping as a coping mechanism every time you're stressed even just a little bit because you love the little hit of dopamine that you get from online purchasing? Who said that?
Okay, ready? Is the tall woman really masculine, or do you just view height as a very masculine trait, and because you're shorter than her, you feel less masculine when you stand next to her, so you call her manly as a way to insult her instead of working on your deep-rooted insecurities surrounding your height and views on what masculinity is? Who said that? It was me. I said that. This is a message to the tall girls. Being tall does not make you any less feminine. Being tall and plus size doesn't make you any less feminine. Being tall and darker skinned doesn't make you any less feminine. If you want to be feminine, you are feminine. Period. Misgendering truthfully is an attack on our identity, and for tall women, it's honestly the cost of showing up as confident in our height and even embracing our height, embracing our appearance. But listen, we are not here to shrink ourselves to make other people feel comfortable. We are here to be exactly who we are meant to be, and that's on period. So I think I'm gonna end the episode here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Of course, as always, feel free to hit me up on my socials and let me know what you thought about this episode. Have you been misgendered before, because of your height? Have people straight up asked you, oh, are you a man or are you trans, as a way to insult you? Even online, in the online space, I'm seeing that there's more and more of that because, people can hide behind a screen. A lot more people are more likely to misgender a tall woman or just straight up say mean things about her in like her comments on videos or even in DMs simply because they can hide behind a screen. Have you ever experienced that? Has that ever happened to you? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your experiences. I'm genuinely interested to know more. And let's have a conversation about it. Let's keep this conversation going. The whole point of this is to bring awareness to a lot of the things that tall women experience and, try to bring an end to it so we can live in peace, And until then, until you hit me up or whatever, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Good night and goodbye.